Darren, I was just interested on the back of the game against Dagenham. Obviously, you look through the run you're on, and there have been some better performances in there. How do you sort of approach turning things around with the players? Do you try and sort of mix things up and do things slightly different, or do you have to try and stay consistent with them and give them the same messages week in, week out?
No, you have to with this type of makeup of the squad, you have to stay consistent. You have to be, you have to be steady and consistent through it all. You need to and they need to see an authenticity to what they're doing, because what they're doing, the run and the form we've had as in terms of outcome has been poor, but in terms of results and development, in terms of performances and development, they've still been very good, and that's what this group is. But we say it time and time again. People must think I'm, looking to deflect, but that's what they are. I mean, it's and one thing that a lot of these players have never had in their career is, a steady hand, consistency. Normally at this stage of a run like ours, some of these lads have been turfed out and sent to other clubs, and they need to know that that's not going to happen here. And what we said at the beginning of the season is that you're going to get a home, you're going to get an opportunity to play, and you're going to get an opportunity to develop and create a better chance for a stronger career for yourself. That's what it's always been. That's what it's going to have to be, unless we're bringing in 3 or 4 players. How do you change it? The ingredients are always the same.
Yeah, and I guess the frustration or the worry from your side of things with that is that this, in the long term, will stand a lot of these younger players, especially, in good stead, and they'll learn and develop from that. And you'd hope to be the person that benefits from that by keeping them here. But obviously, with the situation the way it is, you don't know whether you will get the fruits of that.
No, absolutely not. No, everyone, still very, still very uncertain. But that doesn't change. It doesn't change what the makeup of the group is and how we had to make the group up. It had to be this type of group. We were signing young players, and Wrexham were signing Mullins, and buying O'Connor, and what I don't know what people expect. I still think that the performances have been very good. Tuesday was poor. We handed Dagenham the game, but I thought Dagenham were incredibly experienced in the way they went about their work, which they are, and we need to put that performance behind us. Luckily, with this group, we've probably only seen that type of performance twice in a season, and I think that's credit to them, credit to the staff, that they've only that they've done that. Because I looked at the average age table yesterday. I was going through my data and things like that, and we're the youngest squad in the division at 23.9 years old, and we're mid-table, and the 4 teams above us are the bottom 4. They're the bottom 4, so I think they've done fabulously well. I think they're developing. I think the danger with all of this is, again, you talk about consistency and messages. The consistency in having a team like this, the only way you get the benefit of it over the long run is by having them here. And things change. I mean, there's so many examples of players that have been here and left, been bought, and played a minute. So it's there needs to be a consistency all around. But look, like I've always said, that's out of my hands. Nothing to do with me. My contract terminates at the end of the season. And if it terminates, it terminates. And, if I'm here, great, absolutely brilliant. I'll carry on working with hopefully a fantastic group of players.
And given the situation that you're in the other table, in terms of that sort of mid-table, it's looking like it's going to be a bit too far to get into the playoffs, and the bottom of the league is a long way away in terms of worrying about that.
Yeah.
What do you use as motivation for the players? How do you get some of them to? Is it a development thing for them, or do you just literally focus on, okay, this weekend in Grimsby?
No, both. Both, absolutely. It's, these are all challenges that they've got to learn to deal with, and as they deal with them more, they'll deal with them quicker because they'll have the tools and the experience and the life experience to be able to resolve the problems. I thought Tuesday we just looked, we were poor, and I don't want to give the players an excuse, but when I watch the game back, the behaviour is completely different to Saturdays, and that only ever happens when fatigue hits. Wakefield's and Knowles's, they didn't have the same thrust. Barnett didn't have the same dynamic. Wilkinson definitely struggled with the 2 games in 3 days. So we all did. They all came to that. I thought Staunton looked leggy, Gorman looked leggy. All of them did. So it was a poor performance, but you have to stay consistent. The one thing you do when you're developing and trying to progress a team, and that's the only way this club moves forward now. This club only moves forward if it keeps a steady team, because it's never going to be in a position where you can be, irregardless of the owner, irregardless of who owns this club, who's going to come in and put a £3 million budget or a £2 million budget or a £1.5 million budget. No one. No. So the club has to grow organically. There's no other way. And what we have to be with that is we have to be very consistent in our messages, and I think it's really important that there is a level of rationale to these types of performances. If I start waving my arms around and throwing things around and stuff like that, well, the benefit to players under pressure or players not in form, what is the benefit of that? That's not good leadership. That's not good coaching. So I think we look at Grimsby in isolation, because we always look at our games in isolation, whether we're 10 without a win or 10 wins in a row. We look at games in isolation, of course we do. We look at what players are physically capable, because I think that's a massive part of our play, and we try and attack pretty much a Football League team tomorrow.
Yeah. So on players, you're obviously missing a few midweek with Mark Little rest, and then Sonny and Jack Robinson not involved. Any of those likely to be there or thereabouts for Grimsby?
Jack wasn't involved. He was left out of the squad in favour of having Mark on the bench. Sonny was ill, so we'll see. He was okay. He was better yesterday. We'll see how he is today. Wilkinson was struggling at the end of the game Tuesday. So we'll see how he is today, and then we'll leave it quite late really to see what the energy levels are like, because the way we play and the way my teams play, energy and physicality is a huge part of that. And if they can't get around the pitch and engage, then it's best off we play someone who can.
Okay, and in terms of Grimsby, obviously sort of competing up there, and they are looking to try and get into the playoffs. Their home form's amazing. Away from home, not awful, but they're not quite the same threat, perhaps, certainly looking at the other results.
Look, it's a good side. It's there's 8 ex-EFL managers now in this league, which is unheard of for this division. And Paul's a very experienced chap, a very nice man, and they're a good side. 8,000 in the ground every week. Big squad. I know they've had some injuries. I know Paul's spoken last 24 hours about having Taylor back and Maguire, Drew, and Football League players. So it's very similar to our first year team after coming out of the league. It's still a team that probably, now Paul's got his hands around it, I'm sure Paul would be thinking if he had that team in the Football League, that team would still be in the Football League. That's how I felt in year one. If Yeovil had Lee Collins and Luke Wilkinson and Craig Alcox and Dickinson's playing every week, and Charlie Lees, Miles Hippolytes, Murphys, blah blah blah, that team would still be a Football League team. So I would have thought Paul wouldn't think too dissimilar to that. I certainly don't. And it's a strong team. It's a strong team, good defensively, very robust, good character, got some good senior players, and it's a well assembled squad.
Absolutely. And just finally, I was looking online the other day and saw the National Lottery just sort of plug in this thing about where they're trying to give 2-for-1 tickets away to a lot of non-league clubs, and Yeovil one of those. Have you seen much of a difference in terms of since the pandemic's not quite been front and centre and fans have come back in? Do you think it's what it was before all of that, or have we still got a little way to go to try and encourage more fans to get back to the likes of Huish Park?
Oh. That's an understatement. Now, look, we've got a long way to go. I think there are bridges to be built, between our supporters and the football club again. And I would like to, the highlight this year has been that young team, without a doubt. And the connection that they've made. I know, again, it's easy to say it after a bad display on the Tuesday, but their energy and their efforts and their sacrifice to play for this football club in this moment is incredible, and I think once bridges are built, I think internally first, that will be a start. But absolutely, the pandemic has changed things. It has definitely changed things, but I still think there's enough in this season. When you look at this season, you have to take the wins when they come. But we had 8,000 here against Bournemouth. We saw a packed Huish Park, which was great, brilliant experience for the players and myself and the staff to see that, and to get to the third round. Having players sold again, like Quigley. You'd have to tell me, people like Adi would have to tell me the last time we'd sold 4 players in 2.5 years for profit. So you've got to take your wins when you can, and I think that the majority of the supporters see those wins. I do. In the short term, we need to address the elephant in the room, which was Tuesday night, and but like I said, they've been few and far between this year. Few and far between. We've given the players a good amount of rest now, and we expect a real improvement tomorrow.
Go well tomorrow. Thank you, Darren.
Thanks, mate.
Morning, Darren.
Morning, pal.
We've touched on referees occasionally, and I know you don't like to criticise referees, but going back 2 games, 100 minutes, 10 minutes of over, what was that all about? I mean, how could they justify that? And then taking that a step further, because of that, you didn't win the game, and you didn't win the game, and then who knows what effect that had on the result on Tuesday night?
Well, I think the physicality of the performance had an effect. Definitely had an effect. The way we had to play to remain competitive. At Notts County, that's definitely the kind of the deviation in behaviour between the players Saturday and Tuesday. It's only ever when it's down to fatigue. Only ever. And I've got one really great quote. It's the only one I ever use, and that's: fatigue makes cowards of us all. It makes you look weak when you're tired. It makes you look, mentally, physically weak. And I thought we looked mentally and physically weak Tuesday night. And and they're the reasons. They're obvious reasons. There's no need to be too extreme with the players. In terms of the 10 minutes extra, the fourth official said to me that the little melee after the 2-footed tackle on Ben Barkley was 5 minutes long. I timed it at 2 minutes 50 from start to restart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's madness, right? You can't even keep the clock. So I've put in a report on that. They'll come back and tell me I'm wrong, because I'm 94-0 down to the FA. And then at the beginning of the season, at the referees meeting, they'll ask the managers for their opinions on referees. No one will say a thing, and they'll go, well, I don't understand why you're not saying a thing. And I can't believe they don't understand why we're not asking a question. So it is that, and you've been at this football club a long time. For this team to be where it is in the table, with the age, they're doing fine. They're doing fine. The only way this team ever wins is long term.
talked about balance after the game against Dagenham. How easy is it to maintain the right balance when you've obviously got to make changes occasionally, and presumably when you make a change, that's going to upset the balance. I mean,
very tough.
How easy is it to replace one player with another and maintain that balance?
Yeah, very, very tough. What we've got kind of one and a bit of every position, haven't we? We haven't got two for every position, because that's there won't be many clubs even with the money in this division that have two for every position. So we got one and a bit, and we spread them around. I mean, we did it with Albie, for 2 years. Albie was magnificent at that. Charlie Lee was magnificent at that. And now Morgan Williams has kind of been the Morgan and Josh Thornton. They have been the key stakeholders, have been spread very thinly around everywhere, and they've done a brilliant job at it. But yeah, it does, because people get into flows. Excuse me. They get into routines, and they build relationships, and then when you change them, the dynamic changes very much so. So but I'd rather have left Mark out, irregardless of the result, Tuesday night, and know that he's fit for the next 2 or 3, rather than play Mark Tuesday night and then really sort of look very hard in the mirror if he was then out for the next 6, because then that would have really, really hurt us. He's a big player for us, Mark Little. So I think if I had my time again, I'd make exactly the same decision, exactly when it comes to Mark. I may have even made that with Wilkinson, looking at how that big lump played. But that's all hindsight. You're learning all the time. I've never made excuses for what we've got or what we haven't got. We work as best we can with the players we have. We're not knee-jerk. We don't, just because they've played poorly or they've had a bad spell, we don't put them on the transfer list or make them available for loan. We just carry on working. We're consistent, and that's the only way to treat people, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, you've had a lot of games of late, and I suppose to a degree it's inevitable that the players are going to look a little bit tired. I mean, two in 3 days? It's tough going, I would imagine, because their physicality has got to be absolutely top notch to win a game, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, Dagenham had 10 days, and no travel. I asked repeatedly to the National League, that the travelling that we'd done in recent weeks was extortionate, and that we're putting players' safety at risk by making them play on the Tuesday night when we could play down the road. I mean, down the road. I mean, it wouldn't have made any difference. But I don't know what it is with that. Every time we go with a sensible suggestion, we get shot down. So Dagenham wanted to play, quite rightly so. If I was Darrell, I would have tried to play the game, because we all see the same patterns. And they brought a good side, and an expensively assembled, experienced side, and played. I don't think they created loads and loads. Thought the first 10 minutes was a bit airy, scary, but we rolled over and very much let them tickle our belly that night.
I don't know if I asked you this last week or not, but how's Charlie Lee getting on now? 2-3 weeks into the job, is he making a difference?
Oh, excellent! No, he's excellent. He's excellent, and again, it's all about character. It's all about character, and Charlie's got a great way about him with people, and it's just encouraging him to do it and not second guess it, because people think that when you come into these roles you can and you can't. Well, if there was anything that Charlie is not allowed to do, he'd have been told by now, because I'm very straight like that. He's just got to be himself and really impact on the players and their characters and their state of mind and their performance levels. So no one knows better than Charlie how to win football matches, and especially how hard it is to win football matches, but also how much your body has to go through to win football matches. Charlie was always one of them players that was never fit Monday, but by Friday, by hook or by crook, with as much tape or as much medication as he needed, he would be fit to roll out on Saturday and go down the tunnel and put in a very, very bold and at times heroic performance. And that influence will rub off on the players. Definitely will rub off on the players. And like I said, it's just this is the only way this group wins, and the lessons that they take from people like Charlie. The only way they implement them is by time.
Finally, what is the situation for injuries for this weekend? Have you got any chance of anybody coming back?
Well, I think we only had Hunty injured and Sonny ill. So Sonny, I think, will be fine. Luke is a question mark at the moment, Wilkinson. Mark Little, obviously, is the best news about Tuesday night is that Mark's fit for Saturday, 100%. So Mark will be fine. And I think we've done a really great job this year keeping these young people out there, because their bodies are. Can you imagine Charlie Wakefield's body? It must be screaming at him to stop. Please let me have a break. Let me have a week off. So, it's we've done brilliant, and Scott Wicken, who's been with us all year and has gone above and beyond really in his roles and responsibilities, and has become a very, very valued staff member, and may I add, a good friend. He's 21 years old. I'm nearly 40, but that boy's got a lot about him, and he's got a lot of promise. And I always say this to the staff. We've done well with staff here as well, by the way. Darren Beshett is doing brilliantly at Plymouth, and Terry, quite rightly so, got his fire back, and is doing remarkable things at Charlton in difficult circumstances. So I always say to these young people, there's a real chance here. There's a real chance, and with the people and the contacts that the staff at this club have, and the reputation this club has for development, the world's their oyster. I mean, how good would it be 21 again and have the world at your feet, knowing what you know now? I mean, wow. And Scott is one of those individuals that really can have a long successful career in his chosen field.
Well, best of luck on Saturday. Hopefully you'll win.
Top man.
Thanks a lot, Darren.
Cheers, mate.
Morning, Darren. How are you doing?
Good. You?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
I like your Lego beard is brilliant, It never changes. It never grows. It never gets shorter.
It gets kind of thicker more than it grows, so it needs filling out a bit.
That's a contradiction, isn't it?
What?
So the hair gets wider? Is that what you're saying, rather than gets longer?
No, I think more hair grows, so it's denser rather than it grows outwards.
So it does grow then?
Yeah, but just not lengthwise.
You're talking that absolute gobbledygook. I'm going to make sure this stays in this bit.
I'm sure it will. Obviously, we've mentioned the fatigue side of things. Is there a way of combating it, especially with the players that have never really gone through this in their careers so far?
Yeah, rest.
And obviously, hopefully that will come next week with no midweek game.
Well, hopefully it will come this Saturday. We've tried to recover as properly as we can. The one thing I don't subscribe to, is that the players didn't try. So this is not an emotional reaction. There was no shouting and hollering. That's not going to do any good in March, when the players have played, have worked so hard and with so much pressure over the top of them all year. That's not going to help. So some rest, some reassurance. Like I said, a lot of these players, when they go through these periods, normally they're the ones at the butt end of, you need to be on loan, you need to be transfer listed, you need to find a new club. I'm not doing that with these. They need to see that in this industry there is trust, and there is a level of integrity that says, when we're signing you and we're going to go with you, we're going to go with you. And I'm not prepared to go down the route that the others have. I'll give you an example, so there's some clarity to the point. Jordan Barnett last year had 2 clubs. Adi Youssef last year had 2 clubs. Charlie Wakefield last year had 2 clubs. Grant Smith last year had 3 clubs. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. We're going to stay strong, and we're going to work through, and we're going to improve these players. So so Yeovil in the long term gets the benefit of these experiences. If it's with me, great. If it's not with me, unlucky Darren. But I'm not. We're not going to turn these players. We're not going to throw them off the edge of the cliff. We're going to carry on working with them. We're going to stick with them. A bit like the away fans that have stuck with us all year, travelling up and down the country, and always have been magnificent with us. We're going to be the same. We're going to be the same. And if we need to give them rest, we'll give them rest. I'm not going to rest them on match days. Why would I rest them on match days? If they're the best players, they're the best players. My duty is to put the best team out. So if they need rest, they can have rest in between games. But they need to be ready for games, and that's why they're here. Why did Charlie Wakefield sign here? It wasn't to get rich. It was to create a platform and have the exposure and the development time he needs in game. He's been training his whole life. So players like him, Nosey, they're getting what they wanted. They're playing every week, and they've got a manager that's going to stick by him.
Yeah, I think that stability is key, like you say. And how would the likes of Morgan Williams and Jordan Barnett have been playing so many positions this season? How is it in your mind how they're progressing with their development, that you can trust them to play so many positions?
Yeah, they've been revelations. Morgan Williams has been. I've never seen anyone, and Morgan will know this, and he'd be okay with me sharing this. I've never seen anyone start pre-season so badly and turn out so well in a season than Morgan Williams. Fantastic, almost like renaissance. Would that be a good word? I don't know. It's been a fantastic reply or recovery to some early criticism, and he has been excellent. I mean, anywhere he's played, and what I like, and I used to use this example with players, and I used to use Charlie Lee as the model. Not a good-looking one, mind you, but I used to use him as the model. And the model was, wherever Charlie played, he would always bring 3 things. He would talk, he would win every header, and he would pass the ball. It didn't matter whether he played centre forward, and I saw him play centre forward for Stevenage numerous times. It didn't matter if he played central defence, which he did for us numerous times, and it didn't matter if he played in midfield. He would do those 3 things, irregardless. And I see the same in Jordan Morgan. I see the same in Josh Staunton. And they're the best players to have. Make no bones about it. You know that wherever you put them, they're going to give you 2 or 3 things week in, week out. Jordan, it's his athleticism, his dynamic, his tenacity. It's his positivity. Those 3 things are great about Jordan. He's a real sort of uplifting chap when you're watching him run. And Morgan's got the same qualities. Great talker. 1v1 defending, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. No shock to me that the first goal, and this is not a slant on Jordan, but the first goal the other night come from across from the right. Morgan Williams hasn't let a cross in months from that side, playing left back. Not months. So I think, I think they've all been fabulous. I think they've all been fabulous. Tell me, out of those young lads, who hasn't been fabulous? They've been magnificent. They're swimming. We're swimming against a very, very strong tide. Very strong, and they're still swimming. What more can you ask of them?
They've all grown exceptionally. I think of it in front of me anyway, from what I've seen. How is Olomola's fitness levels? So he came back midweek. He obviously needs a few games to get himself back into it. How's he doing? Yeah,
I didn't want to break him Tuesday. The game to me at 3-0 is gone. It's gone. Especially when I saw the what we had in our fuel tank that night. And I just, him and Staunton, I didn't want to break. Fella's part of a solution, hopefully, to us in the next 13 games. And I want him to be a solution. I don't want him to be a problem. I don't want him to be injured. We never used him how we prepared to going into the game. We prepared to really use Olomola on that side, and we made a massive tactical point, and we didn't use it. We didn't implement that well enough, the players. The players actually spoke about that at length after the game between themselves, which I was very pleased with. And we will be using him. You know, he's a good player. He's a good player, and he's someone that, again, over the long term, I'd like to work with him longer. I really would.